Hello? Hello?
This might be a really nasty sound, I'm afraid. Let me just turn this mic off. I've just turned that onto my laptop sound, Gina. I do not know. There I am. Right, that's me turning it on to the laptop sound. Something is not right with the old USB sound then at the moment. So you guys, is there anybody that's been whittling on sound quality is good? That's good. I'm just going to pull my mic out so I don't drag it everywhere. Don't know what's going on then. How very bizarre that is. So for the first 20 odd minutes of this, nobody's had any sound. I do apologise. What I will do is I will probably redo all of this or at some point. Anyway, I'm hoping you've got sound now. Gina says yes, you have. Yay! Thank you for letting me know. I checked it. I thought I checked it because it wasn't. It was saying it wasn't registering, and then I'm just going to turn these apples down. So, for anybody that was watching me and not listening to me, these are cooked down the apple pie filling here for in our apple cookie cups. This is 3 small Braeburn apples which have been chopped into fine dices. I've missed you too, Gino. I hope you're well. And then they've been chopped down into fine pieces, and then in here they've melted them down with butter, sugar, and a touch of cinnamon as well. And they've now started to soften up. I don't want to take it too far because when we add them to our cookie cups and then cook them again, it'll actually, I'm just going to take it a little bit. It will they'll just turn into mush, and that's not what we want. So I'm just going to leave that going. So back to our gingerbread now with added sound. I have to figure that out because it has been working, and something is not quite right there with the mic. Right. Back to what we're talking about, gingerbread. This is my gingerbread dough that I use for everything. The Halloween gingerbread, the reindeer cookies, and what we'll be doing later in the year is my gingerbread mince pies, which are amazing. Anyway, this is really simple, and it's all done by hand. I need some butter as well. And I've already prepared some here, so we'll be getting that out and using that as well whilst this chills out in the fridge. So what you want to do is go in with your plain flour. This is 350 grams, which is stuck in the bottom of the bowl. It's going to be one of those days, isn't it? I'm so sorry about that sound. So 350 grams of plain flour or all-purpose flour. I've got 150 grams of dark muscovado sugar. You can use a light brown sugar instead. And then I've got a teaspoon of baking powder. This just helps make it nice and soft. And then, of course, it wouldn't be gingerbread without our ground ginger. And that's a tablespoon of ground ginger there. I'm going to save that bowl for the moment. This smells amazing. It smells totally of autumn. We've got the cinnamon, the apples, the sugar. I'm now going to turn it off. Right. So what you want to do with these is just mix everything together. You can sieve it together if you want the dry and stuff. And your brown sugar, you might find, does things like this. Because it's quite soft, it will clump together. But don't worry, we're going to rub everything together next. So give that all just a mix and then pop in your butter. Now this is cold from the fridge. It means that when you're rubbing it in, it's not going to get greasy or anything like that. The heat from your hands is going to start to soften it up. But because what we're not looking for, if your butter's too soft and you start doing this, you're going to get a really greasy, wet dough that when you, just as I put my hands in. Wonderful. Thanks, Shannon. I think I'm going back to bed today. I think, should we start again? Let's say you want fridge cold butter. It just makes it easier to work in. We're not overworking it. We're not making a greasy dough or anything like that. And what we're doing is, as you do this, you just rubbing everything together through your fingers to form like a sandy texture. And thank you, you're doing good. I would push the button, but I've got my hands in here again. Until it makes a nice sandy texture. Do you know what? I'm going to blame it on my flu jab. I had that this week, and it always knocks me for six. In fact, it knocked me for six. My COVID jab didn't bother me at all, but my flu jab just makes me feel really yuck. And I went for a train. I started seeing a young man. No, I started going to like a training session on Saturday mornings, get some strength in my upper arms and my legs. I've been noticing, especially with working from home, although I'm doing, we go out, we walk, I run occasionally, I do my Zumba, but my strength from just sitting around all day. And I can't tell you that actually how much my arms ache doing this, because that had me lifting weights yesterday morning and all sorts of things. Never thought I'd be able to do it, but hey, this is a good arm workout. I say you can do this. This is good to do with the kids. They can get stuck in and do it. Or you can do this with a food processor or a pastry blender. Now I've still got a few lumps of butter in here, and that's fine. I'm just finding those in and rubbing through. And you can use this gingerbread recipe for anything really. It doesn't have to just be these cookie cups. It can be the old gingerbread men as well, which this time of year makes really good trick or treat Halloween gifts as well. Oh, come on. I hope everybody else is all right. Enough about me and my aching arms and my flu jabs. I hope you're all okay too. Now that you can hear what I'm saying. Right, I think with there, you'll be able to feel it as you push through. But it's, as you can see, it's this nice, fine, there's a bit of, what we don't really want is globs of butter, because again, that will make little wet sort of patches in your dough where it might sort of then become too greasy, fall apart, or not bake through properly, and your filling goes out the center of it. Right. Now I think we're ready. It's quite therapeutic. I was reading something yesterday. Might have been in the Waitrose food magazine. There's a food magazine. I've got it, especially this time of year. And they were talking about how people found baking and cooking actually quite therapeutic. And when I'm making a dough like this, I can really understand that, because it's all very tactile feeling. Anyway, getting really, really thingy today. Philosophical, no. Random, yes. Right. So we've got our nice, fine, really soft, sandy dough there. I'm not going to wash my hands because my hands are going back into there. In a separate bowl then, crack in your egg. And then, let's get a fresh spoon. If lid's gonna come off, come on. We're gonna add 4 tablespoons of golden syrup, or there around, because you know what measuring golden syrup can be like. So that's actually quite a large one. Just going to take a little bit there. Just put that over there. And you want to whisk this together. So you can do this with a fork or a little whisk or a spoon. Let's get rid of that. It's everywhere. Just whisk it up. The golden syrup might not want to go first, but if you just make it, it will do. If you want to, you can add a little bit of vanilla extract here. I'm just going to hold off because I might need that liquid when we combine this all together in a moment. Right. So it's nice and runny, not like, you know, your golden syrup is thick and heavy. So in here, make a little well, and then pour in. Bowl, and then start bringing it all together. We did this the other week, didn't we? What did I make? I can't remember now. My mind is just all over the shop at the moment. Right, once it starts coming together, you can use your hands to start bringing it into your dough. And it might feel like it's quite crumbly at first, but it's fine. It's not a problem because it will start to come that egg. We don't want a wet dough. So this is where it is. Now this is probably, like I said, I might need a dash of extra. So if you are finding it's not coming together, you can add a touch of water, a little bit more golden syrup, or you can use a splash of vanilla extract, which is what I'm doing there. It's about a teaspoon. Just helps bind everything together, but you don't need a lot. Come on. Just can't get my hands in here. Yes, it does. The same thing happens with me and shortbread. In fact, me and shortbread are a nemesis. It's getting that right balance of it being sticky enough to all hold together and not overly sticky, sorry, and not overly crumbly. So there we go. It's just, it's not me and this dough in this bowl today. There we are. All coming together. We are going to do shortbread towards Christmas, hopefully, as well. I want to do a classic shortbread. I love it. Oh my God, definitely, and especially after yesterday. There we are. So you start to see it's got that lovely, I've got gingerbread flowing around, that lovely gingerbread colour. Now, this is too soft to be using for our cookie cups. So I'm just going to rinse my hands. I'm so sorry the mic wasn't working. I need to go back and check if it worked last week then, because I was having the same issue. Not last week, the week before, when we made mini rolls. I wasn't here last week. We were watching James Bond. Right, so this is too soft to use straight off. So what we're going to do is wrap this up in some kitchen wrap or cling film, and we're going to pop that then in the fridge for about 30 minutes to sort of chill out. Let's just get rid of all the rubbish. So 30 minutes in the fridge. That goes in. And another comes out. So I made this one. This has been already prepared in the fridge for this. Now, if you want to, you can freeze the gingerbread dough at that point. Freeze it, and it will keep in the freezer for a good 6 months as long as you wrap it well up, and then you can get it out and get it ready to use. So I've totally lost track. So we've got our gingerbread. This is just going to come up to room temperature. It still is fridge cold at the moment. This is going to come up to room temperature, and we're going to then start making our cookie cups. So what you can do now is, when you're ready, is actually start to preheat your oven. You want to preheat that to 180 degrees C, which is 350 Fahrenheit. And what we're going to do is we're going to bake these in two parts. We're going to bake the cookie cake cup on its own first for about 5 minutes or so, and then we'll take it out and then fill it with the apple filling and pop it back in for a further 5 to 8 minutes. So we're going to be doing this in our deep muffin pan or a cupcake tin. These are about 1 inch in depth, and you can see here. And we're going straight into the pan with these. So whilst that comes up to temperature a little bit, we're just going to prep it. Now you can use a little bit of butter. Excuse me, if you remember, we've used the butter paper before with the leftover butter just to grease each of those. Or you can use, actually I might have one in the fridge, let's have a look. Or you can use a cake release. Let's just double check. I might have a butter paper. Let me get it. I've got a couple. There we go. So when I've been using a butter, obviously I use quite a lot. this is something my granny used to do, is I'd keep the butter paper, I'd just fold it up and freeze it. Because when you open it out, there is actually enough on there just to give you a little grease round. We're not wanting to chuck on loads. So if you've got cake release or cake spray, you can use that as well. But if you don't make your own, they can be quite expensive. So you might want to be a little bit frugal. And you get quite a lot. I mean, these are greasing up really nicely. And then what I'll do is this paper's then ready for recycling. So let's see, we've got a little bit more. There we go. We didn't need the cake release at all today. These are, I can see, really nicely greased. So you make sure you get the bottom and the sides and just round the top edges there. So I've got one that can go back in the fridge shortly. That's now for the rubbish. So then, we haven't used our cake release. Yay, happy days. So then, with our dough, we're not rolling this out this time. It's really quite an easy ask on these. I should have really rolled this up into a sausage, because what we're going to be doing is taking, I don't think I've got enough here to do all 12, which is what I thought I might do, but so you might get 6 out of these, is just take a chunk of your dough into a ball and just pop it into your cupcake tin. I'm trying to see where I can do it. And then push down in and round, making sure you come up the sides. You don't make it too thin on the bottom. But what you can do is use the end of a rolling pin. There we go. And it is that simple. I did a half batch last night when I made this. Hence why the dough we've got today looks like we've got a lot more. So let's see. See how many we can get out of here. You can, if you want to, weigh these out, and then you'll make sure you've got all the same. Actually, should we do that? Let's be proper. We're waiting for the oven to heat up anyway, so. About 45 grams a ball then. There we go. Da, da, da. Yep. And it doesn't matter if it doesn't come all the way up the sides of the cup of the tin. Because it will, it's a cookie, it will spread a little and puff up a little. So yeah, we've got more than I was expecting to get out of this. I'm just going to do this and then we'll start making them into their little cups. perfect. So in my half batch, I've got 9 out of that. Of 45-ish, I think somewhere about 46, 47. So then with our hands, I'm just gonna, and if they start to become sticky, you can flour your hands a little. I'm just gonna, with the, you could do this in a mini muffin tin as well. Find the end of the rolling pin's the best option. In Oop, that one's cracked over on the side. That's fine. We can fix that. So I'm pushing down and making sure I've still got a relatively thick base there. Just giving it a twist as I do so. You can get things like tins with little things to do this in as well, like little stamps to push things out. But we do it with a rolling pin. Just gonna rinse my hands quickly. So, oven is up to temperature 180 degrees C, 350 Fahrenheit. We've got 9 little cookie cups in. So these are going to go in for 5 minutes. Whilst these are in, I'll talk through the apples again because we had no sound there, by which point these will be ready to add the apples into. So these go in the middle. And there we go. So they're in. We're gonna. Depends on what you prefer. You could just bake these and then fill with the apple filling. But what we want to do is, and then have them straight off. So you bake the cookies or the cookie cups all in one go. But they will puff up. They will start to act like a cookie because it's what it is. So when we take them out, we can actually push back any puffiness a little bit, which means we've got a little bit more space for our apple filling to go in. I'm just thinking about it. I am going to grab out. I've got some dulce de leche coronation caramel left over. So we're going to pop a little bit of that into the bottom of each. So whilst they're quickly baking, let's talk about these apples. So this, let's just pop up the ingredients because nobody probably heard. Now my phone, and I've got a new phone. It's got face thingy on it, and oh, blimey. Do you know what? Technology and I work for a tech company, and you think I could do this? Well, it cannot connect for the touchy thing, so we'll have a look. It may not work. So for our ingredients then for our apple pie filling, this was 2 to 3 regular sized apples. I had small ones from a mixed bag that I got yesterday. These are quite diddy. So I've used 3 of these. I didn't peel them because I quite like the look of like that really nice red skin on the apples. Didn't peel them. I just chopped them in half. Because they're small, I didn't use a corer. I just took off the core with the knife and then chopped them into small chunks. So you probably can't see it. They're about 1 centimetre or so, because we don't want, like with an apple pie where we want lots of nice big chunky pieces. Because these are quite small, we want them to be, we want to get as much filling in there as possible. But if it's too big, obviously we're not going to get a lot in there. So these were cut down into about 1 centimetre or less sizes. I then popped in a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, so you get that. It does smell amazing, that really nice smell. And the sweetness of the cinnamon and the warming of that spice with the apples is really lush. We've used a little bit of brown sugar, so I used light brown sugar. Whereas I've used a dark muscovado for the gingerbread, I've gone for a light version for the apples because it just doesn't overpower that sweetness and that cinnamon, and we've got the darker treacly flavour in the cookie cups. What went in here as well was a little bit of butter, so 60 grams of unsalted butter as well. And I popped it all on the heat, on a low heat to start with, and that just sort of melted the butter and the sugar through. And then as that sort of had all melted through, gave it a really good stir, and then cooked it down on a low heat for another 5 minutes. And the apples have started to soften. But what I haven't done is take it too far, because the apples will then fall apart and become a little bit mushy, and I don't want that. I want them to have retained some of their sort of structural integrity. What we also have in the bottom of here is this lovely cinnamony buttery sauce, so we're going to be spooning some of that into our cookie cups as well. And it's really simple, really simple. These I think were Braeburn apples. You want a nice sort of tart apple, not anything like a Golden Delicious that's quite flowery and quite a moist apple, because they will just disintegrate and you'll just end up with mush. You won't get that apple sweetness. So a Braeburn is really good if you use Bramley cooking apples, things like that. But you can see what's in season. These are end of season as well, so that's why they're the small ones, the ones that nobody really wants. So that's that. That's cooled down as well. So we cooked it for about 5 minutes and then turned it off whilst we made the dough. So I can see these cookie cups, and I don't know if you can see it. They have started to puff up, and they look. This is going to sound really weird. They look like belly buttons. Sorry, would Pink Lady apples work? I think Pink Ladies would. They get used a lot actually, and I'm not. But I really like a more. I go for a Braeburn, that more tartness. For a personal preference, but yes, you could use a Pink Lady apple. Again, I'd keep an eye on when I'm cooking it. I wouldn't want to take it too far because they can start to break down easily, but a Pink Lady would be really nice. It would give you a nice sort of delicate apple flavour with the cinnamon and things there. So yeah, they could be really quite good. A Pink Lady would be nice. They are quite crisp actually. Aha! So yes, give them a try. Right, but I will double check and find out for you. Okay. It's like having I'm just going to pop these over here, and we'll get these out. So remember, these are part cooked cookie cups. And these have puffed up a little bit. I won't say, but I think they look like belly buttons. You're an empty. But don't panic, because we can see that it's our whatchamacallit has our well has disappeared, so to speak. But you could actually, let's just see. Can I get that back onto the main? There it goes. Just push it down again with we're just deflating it, it's fine. A little. I'm starting to do it with the, oh, there's our 30 minutes as well. Flipping it. So we've just deflated those a little with the rolling pin, and then you can do so with the back of the spoon. Now we're going to fill them with our apples. So I've got so many little bowls and spoons and stuff around today. I'm going to start off, actually, I did say I would do this, by just popping, never enough spoons. A little bit of caramel in the bottom of each of these. And it's only a little bit because we don't want a huge amount. And stopping this at this point and doing this means that they have puffed up and we can work with puffing them back down. If we'd taken these all the way to the end of the bake, like I say, this is how I prefer to do it, you wouldn't have been able to manipulate the gingerbread as easily. So these do look like they're sat on the top, but don't worry, we're going to push down a little bit more as we add the apples. Try not to get the juice of the apples as well. Well, not too much of it, because it will just be a little mushy. Concentration. Yep, in you go. Come on. The apples feel nice and soft, but still have a little bit of solidness to them. And I'm using a teaspoon so you can see the size of the apple pieces here as we... So as I'm just putting it in, I'm just pushing them down a little bit on that gingerbread. Let's see. Okay, so another fine mess. So these are now ready to go back in. That would be hot for another 5 to 8 minutes, I'd probably say. Now, caramel and the apples will hold down the cookies now. So let's set some time. I'm going to go for 8 minutes. Oh. Feels like a right mess this morning. So it is, I've got a spoon in my apples. So there's a few apples left over. What I can do is just put that then into a jar, into a bowl, and keep it in the fridge. There's also this amazing cinnamon butter as well. So what I probably will do is cut up the remainder of my apples and cook those down in that sauce already. Maybe add just a touch more butter and sugar, not a lot, a little bit more cinnamon, and use that to cook that down. And I'll just store that in a jar in the fridge, because once that cookie dough is chilled, I can make some more. So we'll do that later. I'm just gonna move things around, but that's pretty much. So we've just got a few minutes while they cook through. I am an utter mess today. I've got golden syrup everywhere, tech that doesn't work. Happy days. I guess what we'll do whilst we're waiting then is we'll run through the recipe again. Now you can hear what I'm saying. Maybe I'll have to re-edit all this video together into pieces or something, or maybe I'll just redo it so it's properly done for you. But I will do a blog post, don't worry, everything will be in the blog post. But we have made this morning apple pie cookie cups. Now, like I say, I was going to do apple cinnamon buns, and the logistics of doing that, the dough, getting everything ready, was too many proofs. So I will do those separately. And if I can make a mess of doing something as easy as these cookie cups, goodness, what would have happened if it had been the cinnamon buns this morning. But we have made apple pie cookie cups. So the dough recipe will make about 12 to 16 cookie cups. Now, I did a half batch, which is in there at the moment, which is 9 cookie cups. So you might even be able to stretch to about 18, 20, depends how big you make those dough balls when you push them into the cupcake tin. So it is based on our classic apple pie flavors, and we've popped it into that gingerbread cookie dough sort of little basket. So we've got that really nice, warm, spicy gingerbread there. And I used a dark muscovado sugar. You can use a light muscovado sugar, but we did talk at the beginning. Well, I did, nobody heard. We did talk about using this, which is Billington's kindly sent me to try out. I'm going to be using this later in the year as we get to Christmas. This is molasses, not a molasses syrup. This is molasses as like a sugar. You can use this for like Christmas cakes or chutneys, marinades, where you need something really rich and deep and treacly. So we're going to be using this with a gingerbread closer to Christmas, but it's got a real intense flavor. And the reason I didn't use it for these is I didn't want it to overpower the apples with here, because they're quite small. It's not a big apple pie. So you can also use that if you prefer. And we've made that really sweet and easy apple pie filling that we've just talked around with the butter, the sugar, the cinnamon, cooking it down, making it nice and lovely. And these are great once they're cooked if you serve them with a little bit of cream, a little bit of whipped cream, or a little bit of ice cream, or a little bit of custard. They're like a little mini apple pie, I guess. So that's that. Ingredients wise, it was a really simple, although I haven't made it look very simple, recipe. For the gingerbread dough, we used a plain or all-purpose flour, and like I say, I used the dark muscovado sugar, but you can, if you want a lesser, deeper flavour, use a light brown sugar, a soft brown sugar, or you can use a light muscovado sugar instead. We added a really good heaped tablespoon of ground ginger into that, so you'll get really nice and warming as it goes down your throat. But if you're not a fan of spicy gingerbread, you can cut that back a little bit. You don't have to put all of that in. A little bit of baking soda, that helps give them that rise, that little puff, as we've seen with our belly button cookie cups, but also helps keep them nice and soft and chewy rather than going hard and crunchy. We don't want to be having to give a good chomp on it to get in. A little bit of butter, 100 grams of butter. Now that is at is at fridge temperature, straight from the fridge, because when we've made our dough, we've mixed it all in with our hands. We've used our hands to rub that through. And as I was saying, if your butter is too soft at that point, the heat from your hands will make it even softer and it will melt. You also get a really sticky dough, and the gluten in the flour won't get coated with the fat from the butter, and it's that gives it its structure, that holds it all together. So having it fridge cold is really key to getting that all nicely in, and stops it just becoming quite a wet, sticky mass of dough. A little egg, just one egg on that, and we whisk that together with some golden syrup to give it, again, that nice sweetness, but also that's the wet element that holds everything together once we've got all our ingredients rubbed in. Mix that all together by hand, and then it's popped in the fridge. That's now chilling. Good. You want to chill it for about 30 minutes minimum, an hour if you can, before you start working with it into the cookie cups. Or you can freeze it at that point, and it will freeze for a good 3 to 6 months. Make sure it's well wrapped in kitchen wrap as well. And then we went over the apple pie filling, but that is just a couple of apples. Yes, you can use whatever apples you like, but you want something that's not going to disintegrate too much when you cook it. We've used a little bit of ground cinnamon, a little bit of butter, and a little bit of brown sugar. And then a little bit of the dulce de leche caramel in the bottom of those cookie cups. Equipment wise, you need a lot of spoons, but also a bowl and your muffin pan and your hands. And I say, if you don't like making dough by hand, you can use a pastry cutter. We can do it in a food processor or in a stand mixer if you want to. But getting in and rubbing that all in, make sure that you've got a really good coating of that fat all over the flour, like we were just talking about. So there are your ingredients. It is a super simple recipe if you don't make a mess of it. We have actually 30 seconds left on that. How cool is that? I actually nailed the time. This is surprising today, but we're going to, I'm going to take these out for you. And I can show you, let's just move a few things around. We'll take these out. Excuse me. There we go. I'm going to investigate why the sound didn't work off the mic. Oh, I can smell gingerbread, and I can smell cinnamon, and I can smell apples. There we go. Just keep hold of the oven gloves, Louise, because if you touch it, it's hot. So, like any cookie, when they come out of the oven, they will look soft, but as they cool down, they will start to take on more structure. Do not be tempted to stick these back in, because if you do, you'll end up with quite a dense, heavy, crunchy, over-baked dough, which isn't pleasant. So these will now sit in the pan to cool completely before I take them out. If I try and take them out now, they will literally fall apart. But what's happened is that as we pushed down on the cookie dough when it came out on the first bake, we've got our caramel in there and apples. As it's baked up again, yes, it's sort of just decided to have its own way. And I can see the edges of it, but it's started to close in around apples as well. So that's all held in. Some cookie cups that you'll see are quite definite on those edges. It's entirely up to you what you like. This is sort of more like it started to hold everything in. But either way, they work. So I'm just gonna sit and look at these. Actually, they smell amazing. I'm gonna pop, so I don't touch them because they're hot. I'm just gonna put them over there. Once they are cool and ready to come out the tin, what I will do is just with an angle palette knife. See, these angle palette knives have so many uses. I'll just go around the edge and then gently lift them out, and I'll place them onto a wire cooling rack to cool completely. They will be hot in the center. You've got caramel, you've got sugar, you've got butter, you've got apples, you've got cookie dough. They will be very, very hot. So be careful. Let them cool down properly before you get stuck in. Otherwise, you can burn your mouth, which is never very pleasant. And that said, if you're coming back to them after a day or so, they will keep about up to 3 days is your best bet. You can pop them in the microwave and just warm them through for about 30 seconds and get them really nice and warm, and then add your cream and your ice cream, your custard and everything else that you have. But that's it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Gina, for sticking with me. Thank you for letting me know that my sound wasn't working. I could have sworn it was working when I was on the phone, but when I checked it, but you never know these things. Technology. I need to investigate what's going on there, because it's not picking up the USB microphone anymore. Although I'm just going to check. It has access to that. Everything has access to. When you think I'd got it sorted, and then it's just gone all a bit wonky. I think I'm just going to call this week the wonky week. Thank you very much for watching and sticking with me. Could it need an update? It could do. The laptop's updated. The software has updated. I'm going to have to check to see if the camera needs the update. That's an Ian thing. I will test it, because I think the lapel mic is good because it goes with me wherever I am. At the moment, I'm running off the mic on top of the laptop, so you'll get a lot of the echoiness as well from being in the room. But I will investigate. I mean, this is what happens, isn't it? It's a live thing, and these things never go 100% right. I'm not a television producer. I'm just some woman in her kitchen doing this. Thanks, Gina. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday too. We're going curtain shopping. Woo! But next week I will be back with working sound. We're going to be doing Halloween treats. Haven't decided what we're going to do yet. There is talk of cupcakes. There might be some biscuits. There could be brownies. We'll have a think. I'll put it out to the vote. I will see you guys next week with sound. Take care, and thanks for watching. Bye.